Hey everyone, welcome to a new team, CGC 9.8. So I wanted to share with you an experience of mine that will hopefully help you as a comic book investor, because I pretty much messed up a lot buying one of the biggest issues of the age of comic books that I really love, and I totally messed up. And by totally messing up, meaning I pretty much overpaid by about $800, let's say, on my Amazing Spider-Man 300 CGC 9.8 white pages. So obviously, one of the biggest issues of this age, of the modern age, first appearance of Venom, last black costume actually as well. But the one thing about Amazing Spider-Man 300, it's quite rare in the 9.8 white pages compared to some of the other issues from this time period. So, I mean, specifically there's like New Mutants 98, the first Deadpool. That's much more common in the 9.8 white pages than like this issue, the Amazing Spider-Man 300. Because of that, this is quite an expensive issue. Now, actually early this year in January, there were two auctions on eBay, and two of these basically went for $2,000 US, which ends up being about 2,600, 2,700 Canadian dollars. Now, I purchased this last year, so I'm going to kind of share you my tale. So hopefully you can learn what not to do when investing in comic books. Because basically I bought this last year, pretty shortly after watching the new Venom trailer movie. So saw the new Venom trailer, I was like, oh my god, amazing, awesome movie, really cool effects. Loved Venom ever since I was a kid, right? So obviously I get on the internet, start looking for some of the comics. And you know, for a couple months I wasn't seeing any 9.8 white pages 300s. And then all of a sudden one pops up, and this was it. Now, if you notice, this has the older CGC case. So generally, I find with older cases, they're usually about $100 or $200 less than, well, depending on the comic, because obviously if it's a little bit lower price, it's not going to be $100 or $200 less. But with the older case, you're generally looking at a little bit of a lower markup than the equivalent in the newer case. And the ones that sold earlier this year that I was telling you about for about $2,000 US were the newer case. So let's just assume this, a really good price for this would be about $1,900 US. So I'll kind of give you the bad news. I ended up paying about 3,400 something Canadian for this, which works out to about 2,600, 2,700 US dollars. So obviously, a few were telling you earlier this year that two sold for 2,000. So I basically overpaid about $800 for this. And yeah, I just think it's a good lesson because, you know, basically what I did was I saw the trailer for Venom on YouTube. I got really excited. I started looking around for the comics, and as soon as this one popped up, it was, you know, I think he was asking maybe 4,000 or best offer Canadian. And now looking back on it, I could tell he was basically trying to sell it to a newbie, which was me, because looking now, since looking on Comic Link and things like that, I mean, a lot of these do sell for about $2,000 American quite often. So there was no real reason for me to ever pay 2,700 American or whatever it was. But that's kind of what I would, a good microcosm of what not to do when investing in comics. You don't want to like see the new Avengers trailer and like go and buy all the coolest like Avengers characters, comics, or whatever it might be, like that week of the trailer type of thing. Another good example of this was during the Venom when the Venom movie first came out, at the end there's a cameo, and spoiler alert, there's a cameo of Carnage, and obviously in the next Venom movie is going to be kind of Carnage Venom. So Amazing Spider-Man 361s were quite inflated during that period by, you know, maybe a couple $100 or something for the CGC 9.8s. You know, instead of getting one for like $450, they were going for $550 or something like that. So basically I kind of made the newbie move of, you know, seeing the trailer, getting really excited, going on the internet. You know, I was just getting into expanding my collection at this time and thinking about spending like some really pretty big money for me on comic books. And yeah, you know what? I ended up overpaying, but what I did get was a perfectly centered, I must add, Amazing Spider-Man 300 9.8 white pages. It really is a nice copy, even though it's in the old case. It's like perfectly flat, perfectly centered. This is the direct edition. They got the UPC code newsstand editions as well, which are probably going for a couple more hundred premium, just because they're a little bit more rare in the high grade. But just overall, like Amazing Spider-Man 300's a really good book to purchase for those reasons, as I mentioned earlier, that it's quite rare in the 9.8 white pages for a modern age book. A lot of modern age books, collectors sort of stockpiled them at first. So like some modern age books, almost all the graded examples are 9.8s or 9.6, like they're really high grade. But for some reason with Amazing Spider-Man 300, I think it's just because of the general like awesomeness and excitement of the issue back when it first came out. You know, people handled them more, they were more wanted, so people traded them more, and they just in general are in not as good shape as some of the books during this time, which is why it's so expensive, because it's more rare in the 9.8 white pages. Because this is kind of one of the more expensive, sort of sought after issues from this era. So, you know, looking back on the experience, I'm kind of happy it happened to me. I ended up overpaying a lot for it. I'm still so glad I have it. I'm glad it's a really awesome copy too, like super perfectly centered, wonderful colors, white pages, super flat. Yeah, everything about it is pretty much perfect, so I think in that way I lucked out, because sometimes there can be kind of little annoying imperfections that you maybe missed on the pictures or whatever it might be, but this one's really centered, really nice. But yeah, you know what, I wanted to share this story with you guys, so, you know, if you ever see a trailer, or I know, you know, for Avengers and Thanos, and, you know, now I think there's a lot of Thanos issues that are going for a bit of a premium too. So, you know, I think the prudent thing to do when you are comic investing is probably don't purchase the comics that are hot based on a movie coming out at this time. I mean, basically what you want to do is buy them before the movie's even known or coming out, and a lot of times that's why personally I just buy what I love. So regardless of if there's a movie, you know, I want to buy a Batman 366 9.8 white pages because I love that cover, and I always will love that cover. And you know, I mean, the Joker movie's coming out now, so then, you know, you buy what you love, and then a movie comes out, you get a pop maybe in the issue, and you feel good about that. But, you know, for me, it's all about holding them for a really long time, so I'm not really, like, looking to sell them based on, like, a movie pop or anything. So that's probably where I'm not so bummed out about overpaying with this, because, yeah, I mean, it's one of those issues as a collector you gotta have. If you're a modern age collector, you gotta have the Amazing Spider-Man 300 and the 9.8 white pages. So yes, buy what you love. Don't listen to trailers and listen to people telling you what's super hot and what you should buy and then go buy it. Just buy what you love, and then because it's cool, they'll probably end up making a movie about it or something, and even if they don't, you love it and you're gonna love holding it, and you'll have that pride of ownership anyway, no matter what, even if you did overpay a little bit, which I did here. But you know what, I still got a really awesome ASM 300 out of it, and that's not a bad thing at all. Glad I could share this experience with you guys. Hopefully you don't make those same mistakes, and keep those tips in mind, and make sure to subscribe and keep watching. More of similar videos coming on very soon, where I'll be sharing my collection with you and some of the lessons I've learned comic book collecting in this past little bit. So keep watching, keep subscribing, and I'll see you guys soon.